Hello and welcome back to Great American Movie Review. Once again, this is Mikiah doing another mini solo spoiler-free review for new release movies. This time I'll be talking about Priscilla. Priscilla, for those who don't know, is the true story of a young Priscilla Boyu. Pardon me if I butchered that French last name, but either way, it's about her as she meets and falls in love with Elvis Presley, only to find that the life and love she was promised was not what it seemed. Like I said, this is the true story of Priscilla Presley based on the book written by Priscilla Presley. And the film is written and directed by Sofia Coppola. So there's been a number of Elvis things coming out in the last couple of years, namely, obviously, Baz Luhrmann's Elvis film, which this film actually serves as a pretty nice counterpoint to that film. Whether it was intended to or not, I don't know, but it really feels like it came out almost as a response to it, although that's more likely coincidence than anything. But while Luhrmann's film is dizzying and way over the top and just manic, this film's a lot more stripped down. But also in Luhrmann's film, that is a film I ultimately enjoyed, although I do have some major issues with it. Namely, I think it has some perspective issues and also the typical biopic storyline, especially music biopics. It doesn't escape that. Luhrmann's style makes it entertaining, I think, all the way through. However, I do think it runs out of steam. It's a long movie, too. And also, that film, I never feel like it tries to know the people, including Elvis himself. I don't feel like you really got a good sense of Elvis as a person. This film really aims to capture something more personal, and it comes from the different perspective from Priscilla's perspective on this experience, this period of time. And it starts all the way back at the beginning of when they met in Germany when Elvis was in the war. And it's definitely a big point of this movie, which most other Elvis things brush right over, including last year's film, which is that Elvis is 10 years older than Priscilla, which maybe if it's like 24 to 34, that's not a big deal. But when it's 24 to 14, it's a big deal. That's a big difference. And I think that this film, it's great that it truly addresses that. However, it also doesn't dwell on that. Like, it doesn't, their relationship really does come from a place of love. And that's one of the difficult things because you're following a character, this 14-year-old girl at the beginning of the film, who just falls painfully in love, just exploding with this emotion. And she spends years of her life just waiting, and then even more years with him just of loneliness. The cinematographer here is Philippe Lesord, and he's worked with Coppola a couple times before. It's a very beautiful film. Not, once again, kind of the opposite of Luhrmann's film, which was bright and just big colors, neon, signs, all of that stuff. This is very much more so capturing a moment, and it has a very hazy quality to it, which I really love. It kind of evokes both, the time period, but then also the dreamlike quality of this film. This just kind of, it's like remembering your past life through your current eyes, is kind of what the look evoked in me while watching it. Priscilla here is played by Kaylee Spaney. I knew her primarily from Bad Times at the El Royale as the younger sister there. Very much an ensemble film, and she was good in that, but here she really shines and gets to carry a film, and she does a great job showing these very complex emotions of a character who is still in many ways in adolescence and becoming a woman while going through a relationship, and not just a relationship, but a relationship with perhaps the most famous person in the world at that point in time. Her counterpart here is Jacob Elordi playing Elvis. Jacob Elordi, of course, most known from HBO's Euphoria show. I'm not going to get into talking too much about that show because people have complex opinions about it, me included, but Jacob Elordi's character has always been one of the most compelling characters in that show, and I think he has a really interesting screen presence, and they use that well here. Because this is not Elvis's movie, it's completely Priscilla's movie. It's all from her perspective. When Elvis is away, he's not in the movie. This isn't a movie about Elvis at all, but I still think it attempts to explore a little bit more with him than we even get in the Elvis movie. And Elordi's not required to do the physical side of the performance as much. He's not doing, stage performance and all of that. He just kind of has to exist there, and they use his height really well because he's a really tall guy. Clearly, he just kind of towers over everybody around him, especially Spaney, who's clearly pretty small, and that height difference feels significant in the movie to like almost their statures, and just kind of also that legendary status of this character. But I think this is a really wonderful movie, not a cheerful movie. It's a kind of tragic film about stolen childhood and teenage years and not really knowing who you are. Elvis does not come across looking very good by the end of this movie at all. And I like getting this perspective on this deified figure within our culture, because it really starts off like you really feel the love between these characters, obviously from her perspective, but just you get that that's there. That is a foundational element, and the intoxication I feel like is understood. I felt like the characters longing, but there's this complexity in their age differences and how they approach their relationship that I think is fascinating to explore, with it being in a time period where maybe that relationship wasn't like absolutely off limits like it is and should be, because she's still feeling everything to the fullest before she even truly knows herself enough to know what she wants. But yeah, I definitely think that this is one of the better films of the year so far. I'm not going to say it's going to end up as like a top 10 for me, but it's certainly something that I'll think about. As far as faults go, it does meander, I feel, a bit, and it's kind of the stylistic choice in doing this kind of hazy dream-like situation, but it still has those biographical elements too, and I think parts of it kind of become redundant to the overall. But I definitely think that this is a film worth seeking out. If you have any kind of interest in it, definitely go watch it. It's something that I would definitely recommend. And I'll keep trying to get these little reviews out. It's a really busy month for movie releases. It's great. It's been a while since we've been this busy, really since the strike started. Because we have this, and we have the new Hunger Games, the Thanksgiving horror movie, Napoleon, Wish, and I'm sure I'm missing a few more that are coming out this month, but it's a packed month. So I'll try to get as many of these as I can, given that I have enough time to do so. But thank you for joining me again for another one of these mini reviews. If you found it helpful or enjoyed it, if you could give us a like, maybe even subscribe, that helps us out. We love watching this channel grow. We also love a conversation, so if you want to comment, we'll definitely respond to that. But that'll do it for me for this video on Priscilla, and we'll see you at the movies.